Shalom Aleichem, this is Rabbi Kovac's Mishnah Yomi continues on Monday, the 10th of Iyar, finishing up the first parak of Shekalim. We are in parak chapter 1, Mishnah Vav. Ve'elu shechayavin bekalbon. These are people who are chayav to add a kalbon when they give their shekel. So what is a kalbon? The partner says it's something kal, something small. It's a little bit added on. Now this addition to the half a shekel could be added on as a transaction fee when you're making change with the shulchani, the money changer, or it could also be to make sure your half a shekel is the right size. As we've probably seen, when coins are in circulation, they get a little bit rubbed out, a little bit it's missing, and if somebody is not scrupulous, they could even peel off a little bit around the edges, which is why they put those little ridges around the edges, the outside edges of a coin. So any given half shekel coin might be actually a tiny bit less, a kalbon size less, so we add in the kalbon to make sure we have the right amount. So the Mishnah lists the kind of people who add the kalbon when they give in their half a shekel. Leviim, the Yisraelim, the Gerim, the Vodim, the Sharim. So the regular Levi, Israel, a convert to Judaism, and a servant who is freed and is now fully Jewish. Avolo Kohanim and Nashim Vodim Ketanim. But not Kohanim, even though Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said in yesterday's limud that they are chayiv to bring their shekel, but they sort of had a more heter. We don't take mashkun from them. We don't push in the Kohanim to do so. So they also don't add the kalbon. Hashokel al yedei kohen. Someone's giving the shekel, the half a shekel for a kohen. Al yedei isha for a woman. Al yedei eved for a servant. Al yedei katan pater, or for a minor member under the age of 20. They are pater from adding the kalbon. Be'im shekel al yadov al yad chavero. If he's giving a shekel on behalf of himself and his friend, chayiv bekalbon echad. He adds one kalbon, not two. Rabbi Meir omer shnei kalbon. Rabbi Meir says really the kalbon is a necessary addition to the payment, so he should add two. He's paying 1 shekel in total. He's paying half a shekel for each of two people. Each of those two people should add the kalbon. Really, Rabbi Meir is saying deraisa, you have to have the right amount of silver, so you really need to add the kalbon to make sure the half shekel you're giving in has the minimum amount of silver. So to elaborate on Rabbi Meir, nowadays our money, the paper money obviously, but even the coins, they don't have the intrinsic value. The value of the coin, if you melted it down, is not the same as the purchase value, the purchasing power of the coin. And it used to be you could actually trade United States money for precious metals. Anyone who was around in 1971 knows there was a change in government policy. We went off the gold standard. But it used to be you could trade dollars for precious metals. Other currencies used to have a similar situation. But way back when, in the Mishnaic times, in the Roman times, Greek times, for most of human history, currency was current. You could buy things with money because it was made of precious metals, gold, silver, copper, and the like. So what Rabbi Meir is saying is on a deraisa level, your half a shekel might be a little rubbed out, a little worn out. Someone took a little nibble from one of the corners. So your shekel might not be a full shekel. You need to have the proper value. So you add in the kalbon, even if you're giving on behalf of two people at the same time. Mishnah concludes here, Hanotin Sela Venotel Shekel. Someone goes to the shulchani, the money changer at the temple. He gives in a sela and takes a shekel. Chayav shnei kalbon. He has to pay twice, basically as a transaction fee, as well as to make sure his coin is big enough. Now, what's going on here? A sela is a coin, is the name for the coin in Mishnaic times, which is a biblical shekel. And the shekel he's getting back in change is the biblical half a shekel. What happened is at some point in history, since they were always giving a half shekel, eventually the half shekel came to be called a shekel, and the coin they used for a full biblical shekel came to be called a sela. So to explain, basically he's giving a sela to the shulchani, which is like giving $1, and half of that dollar is going to be for his half a shekel, and then he's getting back 50 cents in change. However, the 50-cent coin is now called the shekel, even though it's half a biblical shekel, and he's paying 2 kalbonot as a transaction fee and to make sure his shekel has the proper weight of silver. Great, on to Mishnah Zayin. Hashokil al yedei oni. He's paying the shekel obligation on behalf of a poor man. Al yedei shcheno, or for his neighbor. It's a friendly neighborly thing to do. Al yedei ben iro, or for someone else in his city. Pater. He does not have to add the kalbon for the other person. Vim hilvam chayev. But if he's lending it to him, if he's telling his neighbor, hey, I'll pay your shekel, and next week when you get some money, you'll pay me back, then he has to add the kalbon. Ha'achin hashutafin shechayvin bekalbon. Brothers that are partners, that are obligated in the kalbon to add this a little amount to their shekels, paturin mi meiser behema. They don't have to pay meiser behema. What's going on here is their father passed away. left a number of sons, and the sons inherited his estate, which had animals, farms, whatever else it had, and they divided it up into their own individual portions, and then they said, listen, it's all one contiguous estate, let's become business partners in this estate. So when they've joined as business partners, they're each paying their shekel as an individual, so they each add a Kalbon. But since they are partners and not individuals in the animals of this farm, they don't pay Meiser Behema. Meiser Behema applies when the animals are owned by an individual, not by a shutfut, not by a partnership. Now the Mishnah says the corollary case, Keshachayvim Meiser Behema, when they do have to pay Meiser Behema, Paturin min a Kalbon. They don't have to pay the Kalbon. So that's a case where the father passed away, they've inherited the estate, but they have not divvied it up yet. So the whole estate is still basically called after the father's name. There's one single owner. It hasn't been divided. So they're chayiv in Meiser Behema. They have to separate 1 out of every 10 newborn animals. But since all the money for their shekel is coming from one bank account, the father's bank account, they don't pay Kalbon. Finally, the Mishnah explains, Kamahu Kalbon. The question we all wanted to know, how much is this Kalbon? It's ma kesef. A ma kesef, divrei Rebbe Meir. Now, a ma is 1/24th of a shekel. So the equivalent of like 4 cents on the dollar. Chachamim omrim chatzi. The sages say it's half of that. So it'd be like 1/48th of the amount of a shekel. So you see, it's a very small amount, but necessary to make sure your coins are the right size, and sometimes necessary as a transaction fee at the temple. Chazak and be well.